Hello, YouTubers! Welcome back. I just got to continue the review, part 2 of Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Now, I would like to talk about how I've always found it interesting what goes on in a person's mind, in their subconsciousness, and I'd love to know what goes on in your mind. Leave a comment, tell me about it, and we can discuss it. I can even add it into a discussion in the video, and I think that would be very good because we're all in it, and it's really cathartic to talk about what we feel. I've never been one for small talk, not really. I've always liked things that are inner, and so again, Senua Saga, it really goes into that. How is she feeling? It's constantly about the inner. Like she hears her voices, which are just her inner, like talking to her, and and that's I think so great because usually the video game characters, one they're quiet, and then two they talk to other people, whereas here you have the inner monologue. You really do, and I love that. I just really want to emphasize the things it does really well because I really dislike how mainstream reviewers like IGN, GameSpot, they act like they're an authority on what's right and what's wrong. But in my opinion, it's so surface, and usually it's not even correct, basically, because they missed the point. See, so the point with Senua Saga is it's about the inner journey. It's not about the gameplay. It's not like God of War, which has, different enemies and the skill tree, different weapons, etc. Senua Saga doesn't have any of that. But that's a great thing because some of us want something a little bit more tailored, more to the point. Personally, I don't like big skill trees that go on forever. I like it when you're just given the gameplay and you have to deal with it without needing to like open the inventory and endlessly fiddle with it. Read the stats in the inventory, and then you're like, well, I don't know what plus 5% damage is for this weapon versus that weapon or whatever. Should I use ice damage or fire damage? Like, so so it does the gameplay in a more simplistic sense, and that is I will admit, that's a bit of a downside. So while the game does make it seem interesting, like there's always going to be the next big thing happening wherever she is in each of the six worlds, the bottom line is that the gameplay is the same across all the enemy types, and the enemies largely always look the same. There are some differences, but the thing is, even the enemies that are different, they still attack the exact same way. And the gameplay mechanics are the same. So, what are the gameplay mechanics? It's a melee fighting game where Senua has a big sword. And so, X is a quick attack, Y is a heavy attack, like a slow heavy attack. RB is to parry. And there's also a dodge button. You can also move the camera around, move your character around, and so the enemy will just come at you, and you have to either block it, um, which usually works, or dodge it. And then when there's an opening, you have to attack. And so the timing is key because you could think to attack, but they're attacking first, and they will hit you first as a result. So sometimes you want to block, and then maybe you have an opening, maybe not, because they might then continue to attack. So in that way, it's quick and it's very satisfying when you manage to find that opening and you strike. And they do phenomenal camera work. They had like real people, um, with all the sensors on their body, acting, doing it for the animation. So it looks very, very good. Um, but it is also a little simplistic. Has to be. So it doesn't matter if you up the difficulty; it's still the same thing. And And so in that respect, this is where the reviewers are like, well, if the gameplay isn't like deep, 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 then we've got an issue with it. But the thing is, not every game wants to be like a really deep, endless, bottomless pit of, joy, supposedly. We want sometimes something more tailored, more simple, more down to earth. Because it is like I feel like it's very down to earth because it's like a game that I could relate to, and I think that's wonderful. Um, like with something like God of War, I couldn't really relate to it that much. I mean, I was like, yeah, the animation's great, but um, so I do think they do a great job. Um, what else did I want to touch on? There's probably a bit more. What are we on? 6 minutes now. Ooh, 6 minutes. Are we hitting new territory? Uncharted territory. Um, but maybe I'll leave it there. So we talked about gameplay. I know I want to say a bit more about it, but maybe until next time. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate that you watch this. I'll bring more. Oh, now, before I finish, I'm gonna try. This will take a bit of time. I'll try. She has agreed. I'll try to get my partner into these videos. We'll both be in it together. It will be better. I know. Like, well, why would you want to see me all the time? Um, I put the mask's been up there on my wall, and it's really there. It's not like psychosis. Like, is it there? It's just in my head, and it's not really there. It is there. um, I do like how I do like the topic a lot about like what's is it in your head, what's in your head. Um, I think it is implied that we all have thoughts um, in our head, like as in we have a narrative and we sometimes dress it up as factual. It's not necessarily always factual or correct, and we think, oh, it's definitely like this. This game's definitely crap. Like, whoa, I'll stay away from, like a different one, not this one, different one, definitely crap. You know, I know what I'm talking about, and so the game, it's very interesting. Like the way it's like a person feels like something's there, something nasty. It's not that nasty, maybe. Um, but maybe it's not even like that. And you see a person who doesn't have psychosis, they'll be like that. They'll be like, well, this is how it is. And well, maybe it's not like that. Like you talk to someone else and they'll say it differently. So, oh yeah, now I remember what I wanted to say. Also, with the game, one thing that I would slightly point out is so, yeah, it talks about psychosis and what goes on inside the brain, the mind. One thing I personally don't love, like 100%, like I do like it because I'm a big horror fan, but the game is pretty much always negative, and it's like, okay, so this is in her mind, and she has psychosis, but why does it everything have to be so negative? And I understand that's like how psychosis is defined as well, but I always like to sort of say, well, what if, you have these things in your mind, but it's positive? It's like, why is that so radical? I did make the feedback for the first game, which was more negative. I was like, I would recommend that you guys lighten it a bit, have something a bit softer, because then it would contrast and juxtapose so nicely with all the heavier, darker stuff. I feel they actually did that. I don't they probably didn't read that comment, but I thought they did that in this one, where there are softer bits that do juxtapose the darker, heavier stuff. And overall, the game is much lighter. I was really surprised. I expected a much harder, more hardcore horror because of the first game. It's much softer. The developers have also said that this is like the next part of Senua's journey, and she's turned a corner, and things aren't as bad for her as they used to be, and it does show in the game, which is very nice. I do appreciate that. 10 minutes, sorry guys. Oh, I gotta go, but I will be back because I can't stay away. Thank you again.